What's up, guys? This is Ryan Johnson with moneybass.com, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive into my Shaky Head setup, how I fish it, the rod, the reel, the line, all of that good stuff. Really get into it and let you guys see how I handle it, and maybe it'll help you guys out. Now, this video is not for entertainment purposes only. This is going to take a little deeper dive into it. I'm going to go into detail as far as you'll see my full cast, full retrieve, all of that stuff. Don't skip through it, guys. There's some good information in there. If you can watch it, there's some things you can catch with your eyes. And if you don't catch it the first time, rewind it back, take another look. I guarantee you it'll help you out. Before we get into the video, as always, I want to thank you guys for continuing to support the channel, hitting the like button, and also staying in those comments. I really appreciate it. I gave you guys a shout out last time, and I see some of you same guys are still in the comments. I'll be looking for you again. So let's go ahead and get into this video. All right, so here we go. This is my Shaky Head setup. Basically, I have two of these same rods. They are 7.2. Actually, let me just go ahead and show it to you. So it's a Duckett Black Ice, 7.2, medium heavy. As far as the action on those, I really like these. They are a little bit more on the pricey side. What I would say is you don't necessarily need this to make this work, but whatever type of rod you have, you need to be able to differentiate whether you're bumping into gravel, whether it's a bite of a fish, going over some limbs or something like that whenever you're fishing brush piles and laydowns. So the rod itself is very nice. It has a different kind of texture to it whenever you run your fingers across here. And down here is kind of smooth. The reels that I use are Pflueger reels, and the size is a 30. So there we go. So sometimes I get the ones that's a lady, and that one basically just has a different color to it. I use those on my drop shot reels, drop shot rods, so that I can tell the difference between those whenever I need to reach down and pick a rod up real fast. But that's the reel right here. They have a real good drag system. Never had any issues with those. And pretty much all of the spinning reels that I use are Pflueger reels, this exact same model. The only ones that I have that are not Pflueger are ones that I had for a while before I started using these. All right, so here's the rod again. Has a little bait keeper right down here so you can put your hooks in there. And the eyes themselves, I started using these because I use a double uni knot. Let's see what that is. There that is right there. I have 20-pound high-vis yellow braid, and I have tied that on to, depending on the lake I'm at, I'll generally use 12-pound flourocarbon if it's a majority largemouth lake. If it's something that has spots in there, depending on the water clarity, I may stick with 12, but I may drop that down to 10. I seldom ever fish 8 because I always throw my Shaky Head and a lot of my worm baits into brush piles, laydowns, and things like that. And that 8-pound line wouldn't make it out of there in a lot of cases. Although I do use it on my drop shot, but those I'm pulling the fish straight up. With a Shaky Head, with that long cast, it's going to be coming back at an angle, and it may allow that fish to kind of get that bait and pull you back down into the branches or the brush pile or whatever type of structure and cover that you're fishing. Like I said, just make sure that whenever you do switch up and you get a medium versus a medium heavy, because that is what I used to use, was a 7-foot Micro Magic medium heavy. With that, it wasn't quite as sensitive, but with these, you can feel just about everything. So sometimes it may feel like it's a fish that's biting the line when it's not really a fish. You may have hit a pebble or hit a small tree or something like that, small branch. One other thing, the Shaky Head that I use, it's either 3 or 4/0. I put it right next to this. This is just a zoom trick worm, just so you can get an idea of that size of that hook that's on there. And the size that I generally throw on here is a 1/4 ounce. Right now I'm out of those, so I need to get some more. But the hookup ratio with this is great. I barely ever lose any fish with these. So I like that long shank hook. I use a 1/4 ounce. And as you'll see, it will get down to the bottom whether I'm fishing 8 feet of water or 30, 40 feet of water. So we'll get into that too, guys. But this is my Shaky Head setup. if you have any questions, make sure you put those down in the comment section. Again, so I have two of them. One of them I'll keep a shaky head on it. Sometimes I'll have a shaky head on both, but for this next lake I'm fishing, I have one set up with a little crawbait on there, Texas rig, real lightweight, 3/16. And that's all she wrote, guys. Let me know if you have any questions on that setup. So another thing people ask about is the baits themselves, what baits you use. For me, I just change those out a lot, but I pretty much keep it simple. So I have speed worms in here, some type of robo worm. These are basically just zoom trick worms. Another speed worm. These are Magnum Shaky Head worms. And I pretty much stay with natural colors for the most part when I'm throwing the shaky head. Sometimes I will change it up. Let's show you this other area. So down here, we have more like the darker colors, June bug, Magnum Shaky Head worms, trick head worms. That's a Magnum trick worm right there. You can see how big that is compared to a regular trick worm. All right, so that's it. Like I said, I keep it simple. 1/4 ounce shaky head, and just switch out the worms depending on what the water clarity is, what lake it is, what type of presentation I'm looking for, and that's it. All right, so now we're out here on the lake. Let me just show you how I fish this shaky head. First, I want to get a good long cast. And what I do is pull out a lot of line like that, and I'll let this sit down on the water. And I hope you can see that down there. You can see the line as it's moving. That means it's basically still falling down to the bottom of the lake. And I just keep little loops in there, and I'm watching that loop right there. It's still moving, so it's still falling. I'm sitting in about 18 to 20 feet of water right now. So that loop is still moving, and it finally stopped. So now I'm looking right here. You can see that line is no longer moving on its own, so it's on the bottom. I go ahead and flip that bail, and I pull this tight so that it doesn't get any slack in there, which will cause problems with spinning reels. So now the next thing I do is I just wait a second or two. Now look at this time. It is now 12:08. I try to leave this shaky head for one cast to take at least 1 minute, sometimes 2 to 3 minutes. So the goal is to keep it in the strike zone as long as possible. So how I do that is I reel that slack in, and as soon as I can tell that that slack is out of the line, I'll just start shaking it, and I'll keep tension on the line so there's no slack in it while I'm shaking that line. And I'll slowly just watch my hands. I'm pretty much steady reeling that, keeping that slack out of it, but I'm moving it real slow, and I'm trying to actually keep that bait in the same area without even moving it. So I kind of tapped something right there. Could have been a fish, but I could tell it was a branch or something like that I'm coming over. So what I'll do is I'll stop again, put some slack in the line, make sure that it's still on the bottom, flip the bail back over, pull the line tight, just repeat that same process. Now this is the same cast, and just keep shaking it. All right, I can still feel some little trees and things like that down there, but if you can see the tip of that rod, it's not really moving much at all, and I'm keeping tension on that line. All right, I just hit something again, so I'll stop for a second, flip that bail back over, put some slack in the line, tighten it up, and repeat the same process. Alright, so now I'm actually hitting a brush pile or something down there, so I'll stop again. I'll watch the line to see if a fish is taking it, if it's moving or anything like that. Take that slack out of it so I can keep an eye on that line real good. And that's another reason why I like using this high vis yellow line, because it contrasts real good against the water. Again, hopefully you can see that on the camera. I hope it doesn't have too much glare, but just keep repeating that same process. It's already been 2 minutes. It is 12:10 now. Remember, we started at 12:08. Just repeating the same process. Sometimes I'll shake it and just barely move the tip of that rod because I'm trying to keep the bait in the same spot without actually moving it towards the boat. But it's going to move towards the boat regardless of how much you try to keep it in one place. So you're going to have to kind of steady reel on that to keep the slack out of it, and just take your time with it. When the bite is tough like it is today, this is basically how I fish this. Each one of my casts are going to take, like I said, anywhere from 2 minutes, sometimes up to 4 or 5 minutes. But all I'm looking for is that one good bite. Hope those tips and little information that I just gave you helps you out, guys. Now that you have seen my setup and the details of how I fish it, now let's take a look at some tournament clips where you can see it in action on the lake. Now, it's going to take a minute because I'm going through the full steps of how I actually do this. I don't cut it, edit it out, or anything. So the full tournament videos will be linked down in the description if you want to see those. I would say go ahead and take a look at those. You know, it's got some good catches and things like that in there. But don't skip through this video. Just make sure you watch all the details, how I'm moving the bait, how long I'm holding it, how slow I'm moving the reel. All those kind of details, they matter. All right, let's take a look at it, guys. Alright, a good way to start the day. Alright, some more of them down there. You gotta get that limit today. You gotta get that limit today. Did you catch that? I know you didn't catch that. Go back and watch it again. Look how long it takes for that retrieve. that fish is probably watching it and following it the whole time. But hey, watch it again. Let me know what you think. All right, slowly, slowly, slowly. Okay. Looks like we found some. All right, so that's it, guys. Hope that info helps you out. Please leave your questions, comments, things like that down in the comment section. And also, if you are interested in fishing an open tournament, I will leave the flyer at the end of this video. I guarantee you that Shaky Head is going to bring some fish to those scales. All right, guys. Ryan Johnson with moneybass.com. See you on the next one.